Sandwich bread, sold in plastic bags in every grocery store, often sparks some negative response. It lies on the shelf for a long time without going stale or growing mold, so something must be wrong with it, right? Well, I can see its positive side too. I can't imagine a better toast material. The key is to bake it at home. The recipe, as usual, can be found on the blog. Obviously, I'm going to need flour. In this case, I'm using strong white wheat flour, but it's possible to use a bit of wholemeal flour to enrich the taste. Sandwich bread dough is enriched with fat, so I'll use melted butter too. Apart from these, I'll also need yeast, milk, water, and salt. First, into the bowl go all the wet ingredients, yeast, and salt. I dissolve the yeast in the liquid. Some butter solidifies, but that won't be an issue. Next, I add the flour and roughly mix the ingredients. I flip the dough onto the countertop and knead for around 10 minutes until a strong gluten mesh develops. The window pane test confirms the gluten strength. I'm able to stretch the dough thin, almost translucent, before it tears. I round the dough and pop it into a bowl for the initial fermentation. Actually, I will likely need a bigger bowl. The dough will prove covered until it doubles in volume, over 2 hours in my case. After the initial proof, I knock it back, meaning I remove carbon dioxide from it. It will equalize the internal temperature and make the dough rise faster during the final fermentation. I pre-shape the loaf by rounding the dough one more time. I dust it with rice flour and leave it on the counter for a few minutes. This will relax the gluten mesh and prevent it from tearing during the final shaping. I flip the rested dough seam up and stretch it to form a flat disc. I fold the sides inwards to form a wedge. Finally, I roll the dough tightly starting from the pointy end. I push the dough underneath itself using my thumbs and end up forming a cigar shape. The dough goes into a loaf tin where it'll prove until it at least doubles in volume, which in my case usually takes around an hour. Sadly, I lost the footage after the final proof. This is a different loaf, a tad smaller than the previous one because it was made with slightly less flour. Into a preheated oven it goes. And here it is, fully baked. The parchment paper lining has held so many loaves before this one that it finally became too brittle to continue using it. The best way of having sandwich bread, in my opinion, is with homemade jam and a mug of coffee. Ideally in the form of a toast, but I'll have it plain. Slicing is easy since the bread is very soft. There's barely any crust. It tears almost like candy floss. It's not sweet though. It's very delicate and buttery, but any sweetness, if desired, must come from the toppings, like my jam. Delicious. It's undoubtedly the best sandwich bread I've had.